Hey folks, welcome back to the shop. Frank here. I made a couple videos a few weeks ago about my new lathe, and in the second one that I put up on the channel I made a big mistake, as someone pointed out, and then I went and looked at the manufacturer's website, and certainly I did make a mistake. So I was checking the alignment between the headstock and the tailstock, and I was using the Edge technology rod to do the check, and I did it completely wrong. I guess I should have read the instructions. I'm not big on reading instructions. Clearly. I'll show you what I did wrong and then we'll do it right, and I get it. I just checked it now and it's a significantly different result. So it's a good thing one of you guys pointed it out. So we'll fix it. I'll show you what I did. This is the Edge technology gauge, which helps you align the tailstock and the headstock. I've put the Morse taper adapter back in the headstock and reinstalled the gauge. And what I was doing last time was I was traversing along this aluminum cylinder, which I should have known better. I was pointed out by one of the commenters that I should measure here and then here at these two machined discs. And I went to their website, read the instructions, and in fact that's how you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to put your dial indicator on here, move down here and put it on here, and align the two. Get the same answer, the same result at both places. So I've just done that, and I'm almost 5 thousandths off between the tailstock and the headstock. You can't see all the dial, but you can certainly see that I'm, almost 5 thousandths, 4 thousandths over from the zero here. And so we'll move it down to the other end and I'll show you where I am. At the headstock, you can see that it's a little bit past zero. So it is clearly not even close. Let me adjust that to exactly zero and go back to the tailstock. So the instructions on the Edge Technology website say to extend your tailstock quill as much as you can, and I'll show you. I have mine extended about 4 inches, and which is pretty much I think that's close to the maximum. To be honest with you, I'd rather check it further back, but I can't easily do that. So following their instructions, here I'm reading 5 thousandths. So we need to, it's 5 thousandths low, so that the tailstock needs to move toward the operator. When I adjusted it in the video a couple weeks ago, I moved it the other way. I moved it in the wrong direction. It was probably closer to being aligned then than it is now. All right, so I'm going to fix this. So there's 2 set screws here, which release the tailstock, and then there's 2 set screws, 1 on each side, which allow you to adjust. So let's see. While I turn those, I'll put you back on the indicator here. See if we can get that to 0. Alright, so you have to adjust the 2 locking set screws together because they tilt the tailstock one way or another. think everything's good there. Got them snug back up. Let's see where we are at the other end. We are just a couple of tenths, maybe 2/10 off of the 0, maybe 3/10, less than half a thousand. Just a tiny fraction of a division there. All right, so I'm going to call that good. Let me get over here a little bit more. Oh, okay, I wasn't on the center of the ground disc. All right, so that's even closer. So that's, maybe a tenth off of the 0. So I'm going to call that good. It's within a tenth of within a 10,000th, or maybe 2 10,000ths. So really close. That's better than I had it before. So by following instructions, get a little different result, but actually better now. I'm better off than I was before. I was about half a thousandth. I think I'm 1/10 or maybe 2/10 off here. A better result doing it the right way. I apologize for showing you the wrong way last time. I've never advertised myself as a machinist. I'm not. I'm a hobbyist. I've never had a piece of equipment that was this accurate. Oh, there's my Brutus just walked in. My old South Bend was so sloppy you couldn't even do this. It's exciting to have a piece of equipment that allows you to hold tolerances like this. So I'm happy about that. There aren't a whole lot of things in the machining world that I'm an expert at. Probably nothing. Woodworking may be a different story. Been doing woodworking for 50 years. I want to put the chuck back in and let's make some more chips. All right, so here's my mark. That way I get the studs in the same holes. Make sure the bore's clean. Okay, chuck's back on. Let's get set up here. Find some stock to waste. Go ahead and chuck up a piece of round stock here. Let's try this again. A little heavier cut there. All right. It appears to be pretty close to on center. Take another. I'm just feeding this in by hand. either some of these tool holders are a little bit large, or the shim is this is going to get old real quick. I need to fix this. All right, I'm going to center drill it. All right, first time using this chuck. I've come to really like these keyless chucks. Put one on the mill, and I haven't gone back to the keyed chucks since. All right. Got a couple of nice live centers with the lathe. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this piece of round stock. This will be the test to verify the alignment of the headstock to the tailstock. We'll turn this and see how much taper it has. So I want to mention this tool. I got it from Shar's, the tool holder, and it has two inserts, so you can mount it on either side of the tool post, and I use this to face one end, or use this to face the ends, and then you can use it for longitudinal work as well. Let's see if I have clearance here. Yeah, got plenty of clearance. So I mentioned in a previous video that there was an issue with the DRO. The issue with the DRO was not really a problem. It was just the instructions were not clear. You could change the direction, positive, negative, for a particular direction. So the issue with the DRO was you couldn't change the x-axis direction of travel, positive, negative, couldn't change that. The z-axis was easy to change, follow instructions, go through the menu. The x-axis, you had to turn it off and then turn it back on for it to accept the change. So just a fluke, but it worked fine once I discovered that. So anyway, tech support at Precision Matthews took a day or two to get back to me, but the guy, I think his name was Mike, was very helpful. It works fine now. All right, looks like everything is clear to turn on. Not a polished finish, but not bad. Let's come back and take a little bit heavier cut. Maybe we can up the speed here a little bit. Try to get a better finish. So that's at 700 RPM. Let's go to 9. $9.80. All right, let's try that. All right, so that was going back and forth between, that's a better finish, little spirals and little tiny chips. So we're getting close to what would probably be the correct feed and speed. But I've made 2 passes. The finish on here is better than on the first pass. So clearly a little more speed and a little heavier cut gives a better result. So let's mic this here and here and see how much taper we have. $8.99, 0.899. .902. So it looks like 3/1000 taper. So this is larger diameter than here. This is, I don't know, 8 or 10 inches. So 899 versus 0.902. And I'm getting that pretty consistently here. 0.899. 0.902. So this is 3/1000 larger diameter. Got a dial indicator on here. See if we can check this out. So it is off by almost 1/1000th and a half over the distance. In terms of its position, diameter by 3/1000ths, so that makes sense. So if the dial indicator is showing a larger, closer here than it is down there, that would imply that the center line of the workpiece is parallel, is centered on between the tailstock and the headstock. So it shouldn't be larger diameter. It should be the same. It shouldn't show any deviation here. If the tool bit is tracking perfectly parallel to the cross slide, to the saddle, then this should read the same all the way across. Because this is basically following the same path as the tool bit. So for this to show the larger diameter, which it's showing, it's correctly indicating this is a 3 mils larger diameter, 1.5 thousandths on the radius, which is what this is measuring. It means that the center line of the workpiece is aligned between the headstock and the tailstock. Okay, so we measured with a micrometer. It's 3 thousandths larger diameter here than here. Putting a dial indicator on it, it's 1.5 thousandths closer to me here than here. Which if this is centered and it's larger down here, that makes perfect sense. So that really shows that it is centered. The tailstock is aligned to the headstock. Maybe a lighter cut. Let's take a much lighter cut. Let's do that, but with a much lighter cut. Let's just take 5 thousandths off. All right, I was watching the DRO the whole time. It stayed in the same position the whole time. So 0.8868. 0.8878. 0.8868. 0.8879. So basically 1 thousandths difference between here and here. You know, that's 5 tenths on the radius. So we went from previous measurement with a heavier cut showed 3 thousandths on the diameter. So this is, you know, 0.887. So it went from 3 thousandths to 1 thousandth over 10 inches. And it's less than it was the previous cut. So the previous cut, it was 3 thousandths. We took a heavier cut, took a light cut, and went down to 1 thousandth. I'm going to take another light cut, and we'll see what we wind up with there. My guess is that it's due to tool pressure deflecting the tailstock, since it's smaller down here, which would indicate less deflection. So the reason it's larger here due to deflection is when the tool hits it, it pushes it away a little bit so it doesn't cut as deep. As it comes down here, it can't push it, so it cuts a little deeper. So I think that's what's going on. I've tightened up the tailstock and the quill both tighter. And we'll take another, say, 5 mil cut. We'll try that, and if that doesn't solve it, then I may switch to a sharper cutter bit. Maybe get a little less tool pressure on there. See if we can get this down. I still think that the tailstock and headstock are perfectly aligned. I mean, we saw with the Edge technology gauge like a tenth or 2 tenths out of alignment. So I still think that's correct. I think I think tool pressure is deflecting this. So let's take another light pass and then we'll measure it again. If we still have a variation, we'll switch to a different tool, a different insert, or maybe even high-speed steel to get the sharpest cutter that will cut without as much tool pressure. So let's try this. Everything's clear. Going for 3/1000. Let's see how that works. Yeah, not the greatest finish. .8741. .873. So it's still a thousandths, still basically a 1,000th difference. So 0.873, averaging the tenths going up and down a couple, 874. I mean, there is not a 1,000th difference. It's still basically true. All right, let's try a different tool. All right, this time let's just take 1,000th. Let's see if we can take 1,000th off. That's a better finish. That tool, I don't think that tool's ever been used. Let's see what we get here. 0.8644. .8646. So that's just a difference of a couple tenths. And it appears that the taper is actually in the opposite direction. It's larger diameter at the headstock than it is at the tailstock. So I think that we're down to the point where it's essentially equal to the alignment of the tailstock and the headstock, which was a couple tenths. I'm going to say that's good and leave it at that point. So let's move on. I'd like to make some more chips. All right, I'm anxious to make some bigger chips. Let's switch back to my big WNMG. I think that's what that insert is. We took 30 thousandths was the largest cut we've taken so far. Let's go take a 60 thousandths cut. So that's a 1/16 of an inch, 62 thousandths basically a 1/16 of an inch. So if we take 60 thousandths off the radius, depth of cut, 60 thousandths, that's like taking 1/8 of an inch off of the diameter. So let's let me dial in 60 thou, make sure I have clearance here with my, all right, so there's 60 thou. Don't have any interference with my center. All right, let's see what happens here. Huh. That has pushed, that tool pressure has actually pushed the work into the chuck, I think. Let's tighten the chuck up. Okay. So it looked like it was the tool pressure was pushing the work into the chuck because it disengaged it from the live center. Let's try this again. All right, that worked much better. It did not push the work into the chuck. Live center still engaged. Certainly the chips here are little blue curls, which I think is the ideal chip. Let's take 30 thousandths. It's about all I can take with this tool and this live center. right, that was 30 thousandths. That's a nice finish on there. And it's breaking a chip, breaking a good chip. All right, so let's see what our feed rate is here. Let me look this up. Is 7 thousandths per revolution, traversing 7 thousandths per revolution with that last cut was 30 thousandths depth of cut. So that basically takes a 16th off the diameter, 30 thousandths. All right, let's see about reducing the feed rate to, half of that. So IXBC. Okay, so now I'm down to a feed rate of 3 thousandths per revolution. But it's going to be a 90 thousandths depth of cut. Pushing a 1/10 of an inch. Let me slow the speed down from 980. Let's go to 700 RPM. All right, so that was 90 thousandths. Let's go back, take another 10 thousandths off. If I can, without hitting the live center. All right, so I'm back at the tailstock. Gone in another 10 thousandths. So when I get to here, it will be, 100 thousandths, a 1/10 of an inch. I've slowed it down to 700 RPM. So let's see how this goes. All right, so started to get a lot of chatter there. Some of that due, to the small diameter here, the tool pressure. But it was taking a 1/10 of an inch, 100 thousandths off of the radius. So it was I would say that's pushing the maximum depth of cut for this certainly for this diameter stock. So I mean, this is probably, you know, down to 5/8 or something, under 3/4 of an inch. So okay, this is some blue chips. All right, folks, that's going to wrap this video up. I think we've got the taper essentially equal to the tailstock, headstock alignment, a couple of tenths. I don't think I can easily get it much better than that. I'm pleased with that. So far, you know, I really like this lathe. I don't have experience with any other lathes really, other than I had two used lathes. I had a Logan 400 9-inch screw cutting lathe, and I had the South Bend 10L tool room lathe, which both the Logan was much more accurate than the South Bend. The South Bend was worn out. It was an old shipyard lathe. So I'm really happy right now with this lathe and the way it's performing, the ability to adjust it to a very high degree of accuracy, and my compromise between this and the Chinese version. The Chinese version came with a 3 horsepower motor. This has a 2 horsepower motor. I was a little bit concerned about losing the extra horsepower, but and to be honest with you, who knows how the motors are rated. Really, I don't know that I will ever miss having the extra horsepower. So right now I'm happy, and you saw the size of the chips this could turn, 100,000th deep, and that was 3 mils, 3/1000ths per revolution. So, you know, sizable metal removal, certainly 10 times what my South Bend would do. I mean, clearly, a world above that. So, there's nothing I can complain about this other than the tool post handle interfering with the tool holder. And I mean, that's not a Precision Matthews thing. It's just a standard BXA tool post. And maybe it just needs to be shimmed or readjusted or something. That may be all it takes. I need to look at the instructions. So I'll do that. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks to everybody that subscribed. And, you know, I think we're at over 25,000 subscribers. As most of you know, I don't take any endorsements or free stuff from anybody. Anything I do is my own opinion. I pay my own money for everything. So the only revenue I get from YouTube, I mean, it's not much, but it is due to views. So if views are important to help the channel grow, if you aren't subscribed, perhaps you wouldn't mind doing that. It doesn't cost you anything. It does help the channel. Leave a comment, hit the thumbs up, like the video, share with your friends, whatever you want to do. I'd appreciate that. It helps YouTube distribute the video to more people, and then there's more chance somebody will watch them, and that helps a lot. So I appreciate that. And thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on the next one.